Just wanted to clarify something you said at the top. I think I heard you say there are certain types of military systems that we will not make available to Israel for use in a Rafah campaign. Does the president's statement preclude delivering those weapons, shipments, or analogous ones to Israel for use in other areas during this time frame?
I am just not going to get beyond what the president said last night at this point. We've made clear what our policy is. We will engage with the government of Israel about this question and others. But as I said at the top, while we're opposed to I'm just going to speak about this generally, while we're opposed to a major Rafah military operation, we do still support Israel's right to defend itself against other threats. That has not changed. That will not change. The president's commitment to Israel's security is ironclad. And I should have said this earlier, so I'll make the point now. We actually do believe that a Rafah campaign actually, in addition to all the harm it would cause to the Palestinian people, actually weakens Israel's security, doesn't make it stronger. It's one of the other reasons we're opposed to the campaign.
So, and this just as a practical matter, do you assess that Israel requires the weapons in these shipments to proceed with the operation?
I just am not going to get into the details of how they would conduct an operation at all.
Okay, so well then on Hamas incentive structure, granted granting your point that they're not concerned in these negotiations about civilian casualties, you have said before, you even alluded just now, there are military targets in Rafah. Does Hamas in these negotiations feel an incentive to release hostages in order to preserve that military infrastructure?
We think the only thing the Hamas leadership cares about is protecting themselves. All the Hamas assets is themselves. So I'm kind of limited in what I can say here, but ultimately, when you look at the things that are on the table in the hostage deal, the point of this deal, the things that Hamas gets out of it are things that would benefit the civilian population of Gaza. These aren't things that they have shown they have a huge interest in advancing.
Right, and I'm just trying to think about how, obviously this is a big issue that has a lot of really important components, but I'm just trying to zoom in on how it affects the hostage negotiations. I've spent a fair amount of time this week interviewing the families of Israeli Americans. I think every one of them was very complimentary of how the administration in this building has been supportive of them. But I can't help but wonder, as we watch what Hamas says, and so much of this negotiation seems to hinge on sticking point of a ceasefire, of an end to the military campaign. Do you assess that the president coming out up front and saying that that the U.S. would not provide weapons in this context, does that not undermine Israel's leverage in a negotiation? Or do you just think that the military issue here is not? And I heard what you said earlier about how you think this would play out. But however self-serving Hamas is, do you just not think that the threat of military losses on that file are relevant to the negotiation?
No, it just hasn't been our assessment that is how the negotiations have played out at all.
So